John, welcome back to the PerformX podcast. Absolute pleasure to have you on again.
Yeah, it's good to be here. Thanks for coming down.
And yeah, we just had a tour of the stunning new, the latest club, which is in the Grade 2 listed Whiteley, beautiful building. Tell me a bit about this club and what are the particular features you're most proud of?
Like you said, it's a listed building, so I'm sure when you were coming here today and you see it outside, it's a grand building.
Yes.
It looks fantastic. This is the history of the building, being one of the well-known premium department stores back in the day, going back 100 years plus. So the heritage of it in the area makes it iconic. And Third Space is about iconic clubs in iconic locations. The facade of the building is as it was, despite all of the retail units being restored in size. So I think all of those things. Plus, we've been very keen to have a West London club for many years. This is the first West London club. It's going to be followed by another soon, but we'll talk about that later. So yeah, first West London club, iconic listed building, great size, 45,000 square feet plus, that enables us to showcase all of our newest and most exciting Third Space products.
And we had a bit of a chat offline about it, but is it? I mean, it's a flagship in that it's. Yeah, talk me through that because it's certainly a flag. I mean, it's certainly a flagship. It's blown me away. The tour, it's another level in terms of size and luxury, and that combination of luxury and usability and being right on the pulse of where the industry is at, and clearly know your audience very well. So yeah, talk to me through that.
Yeah, the flagship question is always an interesting question because we get asked what's the flagship club. I guess the long answer is, look, the brand, the heritage of the Third Space brand emulates from the Soho Club, which was the first club that opened in 2001. The coolness and stylishness and chicness of the Soho area, the type of clientele working in that area, the creative clients, that they were. So I suppose the flagship heritage of the brand will always emulate from Soho. You've then got, some people like to think of flagship as size. What's the biggest? So you've then got the Third Space Canary Wharf Club, which is a 100,000 square foot club, one of the biggest clubs in Europe.
Wow.
With all of the Third Space features from the yard to the High Rock studio and everything in between. That could be considered as the flagship if we were talking about size. I know what you mean. This club feels like a flagship club when you walk around it. It's got the combination of the style and brand kudos that you would have felt from the original Third Space Soho, but with the space and luxury of the Canary Wharf Club. So, not sure if I answered your question. But
yeah, it's hard to say.
It's hard to say. Yeah, I think it's every time we open a new Third Space club, we always say, "Blimey, this kind of feels like it's the the best one we've done yet."
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the Whiteley Club is in a special building and a special training space, and I'm sure all of the team here will refer to it as the flagship club.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. But I think it's a great thing to notice because I think we probably did an interview around this time last year. Was Wimbledon?
A couple of years ago.
Was it?
Yeah.
Time flies. But
yeah.
What I was getting to is I think it's a clear evolution of thought, and there's a lot of obsession over what are we doing right, what are we doing wrong, where's the market going, what is the customer, what is right for us, what isn't right for us. There's a lot of thought. So like where you say, oh, it definitely feels like our best one yet. It feels like it's it's an ongoing process, which is great to see. It's not just we've got the template now, let's open them all across London. You're literally testing and tweaking all the time. That's on purpose. We've set out to do that. We don't want to take a blueprint or a cookie cutter approach. We use different architects. We take different shapes of building. We don't just look for a particular size. We look at the vibe of the area, and we like to challenge our teams
with the spaces that end up in their laps, to what we can do with those spaces. It's definitely harder.
Yeah, right,
It doesn't make the job easier, but it's. I think what you're describing is you can see some of the creative flair come through from the teams, when we do things differently and innovate. Yeah.
And what's been the biggest challenge with building in this particular building? Because I think it was the Clapham Junction one we spoke about, and there's like there's interesting ceiling height restrictions and things like that. So building in a Grade 2 listed, it can bring its challenges as well as its beautiful, scenic, amazing windows and sunlight and things like that. So what's been the biggest challenge here?
Yeah, I think when you're dealing with listed buildings and iconic buildings, there's things you can and can't do. I think, before we get into that, I'd say probably the biggest challenge and pivot with this site was we changed the space that we were taking from the landlord almost midway through. So one of the most unique features of this club, as you've seen from walking around, is we have 2 entrances. So that's 2 concierge teams, 2 of our natural fitness food offerings. And we go, well, why have you done that? Because that adds a lot more complexity, a lot more cost. And the answer is that I guess we had the opportunity with our landlord to take more space. And what we've learned always through all of the recent clubs that we've opened and built is we just always need more space. Right. We always want to do a member lounge, or it'd be great to do a combat area, or we'd like some more space for lockers or changing rooms or new innovations like the recovery spa. We'll come to that later. So there's never any situation where we find ourselves having too much space.
Yeah,
if
right,
you like.
Right.
So that opportunity came up, and it meant we could take another part of this building. And we, imposed a decision on our project team, which they never like, because once the design is set and everything's locked and loaded, away they go. So that was a big challenge for our project team, who did a wonderful job, because they effectively had to knit together the original space and the new space and make it feel seamless and make it feel one, which we did. And that was kudos to them for doing that, and that's meant that we could have more studios, twice as many changing rooms, more of a natural fitness food offering as well, and also the second entrance, which we refer to as the courtyard, because it's in the courtyard of the building. We think that that's going to be a really exciting space in the summer. For community-led events. We were talking about some of this earlier. So our third space running community has started to grow, no surprises, as has our cycling community. So we looked at, we thought the upside sort of far outweighed the downside. And that was probably one of the biggest challenges, that we've had. And you then get into, we were saying earlier, there's over 200 luxury apartments here, ranging from 2 million to 20 million plus, and with that, we've got to make sure we don't upset them.
Yes.
We have to do a lot of work with acoustics and sound, so that can be challenging. Where we've got Olympic bars dropping, dumbbells dropping, Ibiza style nightclub. Bass and music coming from our studios, so that hasn't been that's always, not always straightforward, but yeah, those are probably the main ones.
Nice, and I think because obviously the strategy has been expanding more suburban, and then you're getting some amazing city centre sites as well. Have you seen a change in, one, the demographic, and two, the behaviours? I think we picked up on a few things as we went round, but I'd love to hear kind of how people are adapting to the clubs and
I think as we open more clubs, it makes our group membership more valuable, and so we definitely see a moving round of all of our members to the different clubs. For sure, as we move out, if we look at our Wimbledon and our Richmond clubs, they are far more residential, so we see a much more different swing towards usage of the clubs. I'd say it was more steady than peaky, like the cities, like in the city, and real heavy usage on the weekend.
Right.
That is their go-to place on the weekends. And we've had to make some changes. We were talking about our drop and go lockers.
Yes.
So we've discovered that in residential areas, lots of our members don't necessarily want to use the changing rooms. So that was one of the innovations actually of our property team. We've got drop and go lockers outside all of the studios. So that's one of we noticed that behaviour. So that's kind of ticked that box. I'd say probably a couple of years ago, definitely felt like the wave of Reformer Pilates into third space. So from sort of December 13, till now, we went from no Reformer Pilates studios to 10 plus. So that was definitely a change in demand and request of product from the team. I would say this year and the next couple of years are going to be the wave of wet spas, because where we opened Wimbledon. You've been to Wimbledon.
Yeah, beautiful, huge site.
The wet spa there has been hugely popular, and I think with the emergence of wellness relaxation taking its shape in such heavy promotion of the benefits of sauna and steam and plunge, we've only really had that available at Wimbledon, and then we opened some pretty good wet spaces in Richmond and Battersea as well, and we've just seen incredible demand and use, to want to use those spaces, and also with the cold, phenomenon, we've also been putting some of the ice baths back fitting them into some of our sites, and that's been popular. So lots of shift and trends to want to use those types of products. The wet spa at Whiteley will open later in the year. And then in some of our new clubs coming forward, we've got wet spas opening. And a lot of work gone into, we've got a couple of big refurbishments coming in our existing sites. So Soho and Islington, extension of size and refurbishment to include the wet spa offering. So lots, I'd say, big shift in demand and behaviour to wanting to use those spaces.
Nice. And I think I read obviously some amazing success in terms of numbers and growth, and every site's got a waiting list, which is phenomenal. What do you think how would you describe the secret sauce of third space? What are you doing? Because people can copy styles or products, but I think there's clearly a secret sauce that's really working.
It's an interesting question to answer that one. I'll try and break it down. It's no one thing. I think if we've got a very clear vision statement, and we've got a very clear mission of the way we operate, and I think it starts with that. And one of the pillars of that is this philosophy of being best in class. We talk about that a lot. And so we have a brilliant team who take that really seriously, whether that is the operations team or the finance team or the product team, particularly the product team, because, let's face it, what sits at the heart of it is fitness and wellness product. And they have all really bought into being best in class at everything they do, and they are all serious about that and take real pride in that. So I think what you see is an accumulation of efforts from the team who've been with us, either with us for a while or onboarded in a way that they truly aspire to wanting to be best in class in everything that we do. And I think, on the operations and the fitness product side of the business, you will see truly amazing, stylish, inspirational training spaces. And then I think on the property and project and design side, you see this kind of luxury, almost hotelier members club side of things. And the merging of those two things, I think, has had the effect of, presenting third space in its current guise. So I think it's a brilliant team who are all really bought into the vision and the mission. And then I think it is compounded by then the amount of time that they've worked together.
Yes.
So you'll know this from running your own team, that the more years that you spend together, challenging each other and working together and trying to raise the bar, you just see this sort of continuous improvement. So I'd say that's probably the long answer to it. But it all starts with the vision. It all starts with what are we trying to do here, and how are we trying to do that, and are people really built into that. And our vision is all around inspiring our members to be their personal best, being the third space where people go to be their personal best. And our mission that supports the vision is all about being the best health club in the world, as measured by NPS, which is our member satisfaction system. That's the way we measure it, and our Google reviews. So it's like, what are we trying to do, and how are we trying to do it? And if we can then get the team all lined up and facing in that direction, then that's where the magic can start to happen. That's the long answer. I'd
really
also,
like that.
yeah,
Really like
I'd also say I've always talked about third space being clubs that are built for people who love to train and unwind in a certain way, by people who love to train and unwind in a certain way.
Yeah.
So when I look, whether it's from our CEO to our housekeeping team, everyone loves to train. And everyone loves to enjoy the spaces. And so I think when you have that, our CMO is a Hyrox world record holder.
Right.
And so there's just no way we're going to get away with designing a Hyrox space
that doesn't cut it.
Yeah,
That's true.
And so when you have that level of interest and passion, and that might seem obvious, but
I don't think it is.
Well, you know what I mean. Then
Yeah.
I think there'll be some, maybe there might be some brands out there that maybe some of their senior team become a little bit distanced from what we're actually doing.
Or you're looking from I think it's like you're looking from an outside point of view as you're going like, what's trending? Okay, we should be doing that. Whereas you're going, we're obsessed with this stuff. We're in it. How do we? You are the customer ultimately. So you're going right. We need to. I've spotted that. That really aligns with exactly what I want and what we're doing, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think so, and that's becoming harder. When you've got 3 or 4 clubs, you can do that really well.
Yeah.
I can train in every club every week, and really keep an eye on it. So I think the amplification of that in our culture through our new leaders is critical to the success of what we're trying to do. And whilst I do see myself as a typical third space customer, I'm moving probably now into a different age bracket, and so actually it's important that we stay connected to the
next generation,
the next generations, the
millennials,
the Gen Zs, the Gen Alphas, so we can we can keep a lid on that. So apologies, long answer to the question.
Brilliant answer.
Hopefully it makes sense. Yeah,
I think it's so key. I think it's you identify that the key is the people. It's not it's not what you're doing with it. It is like literally having the right people in the right places and the momentum, the combination of those people being bigger than the individuals, but then also the compounding effect of that team's shared passion and ability to challenge and and then personal drive for personal obsession with the use of the product as well, which is really key. They're not just going home at the end of the day, they want to be here as well and train here, and
they care.
Yeah, that's really key. And I think you sort of answered this question in that, but how have you managed to maintain so obviously you've scaled fairly quickly for a gym, for a health club chain with the number of openings, but you've clearly kept the magic, you've kept the culture and the magic. How would you say you've been able to do that whilst growing, which is a big challenge? I think.
Yeah, we've it's a good question. We put a lot of and it's the number one challenge, right? Yeah. Any brand trying to spread the love of what they're doing through growth of sites faces this, we've thought hard about it. So we think the sweet spot of new clubs opening per year is 3 to 4. We think if you try and do more than that, you might get into hot water. Right. And then there's some things we do behind that. So for example, we will never open a new third space with a new general manager. So a new third space club, so Darren, who you met here today, he ran the Soho Club for 8 years.
Right,
So Darren,
fully
if
ingrained.
you cut Darren in half, he's going to bleed third space. You know. pardon the term, you know. But so every new third space club we open will be opened by an existing third space general manager.
Nice.
And then the core leadership team, what we call heads of department, you'll have a mix. So maybe half of those will be internal third space team leaders that have come from another site, and then half will be new. And then the frontline team will probably have 1 or 2 champions from existing site,
Nice.
and then the rest naturally will be new, because you're going to have anywhere from 40 to 50 new people at a new site. So you can't bring everyone from the existing clubs, because you'll just have huge holes to fill. And so far, that has worked really well for us, because what it enables us to do is the culture is immediately alive.
Yes.
And the team can educate the new team members into ways of working, you know, and the way we do things. So that has probably sat at the heart, because we could look, we have more opportunities to do other sites. We could do more if we want to, but then it's just more pressure on the central team, the property team, the project team, all the central support teams, and you may eventually find yourself in a position where, oh wow, we don't have an existing GM for that one. Doesn't matter, you know, let's open it with a brand new GM who doesn't know anything about third space. And I think that's where things, you know, could start to creak. If you really want to, you know, retain the feeling and the way we do things. So I think that's not doing too many and doing them well.
Doing them really well.
That's what sits at the core of it.
I think that's true. And would you say there's a very clear, you are a third space person, you're not a third space person, and people get you? Do you see what I mean? Like
I do. I know what you mean, and I think, we definitely have people who join us from other brands. Great people, you know, because listen, at the end of the day, I love the fitness industry, and there are lots of other great brands, right? Who will join us, and after a few weeks, they're like, "Oh, this is really different," you know. But they will be what I describe as kind of, as long as they are half glass full type people with what we call a growth mindset, then they evolve. You know, and they change, and they adapt. You know, and our job and we talk about this a lot at the moment. Our job in bringing new people into the team, whether they're frontline team members or whether they're new senior leaders into the business, are to help them, you know, make them transition, but without losing kind of authentically who they are, because we want that. We've hired them for a reason. So we get a bit of that, and I think it's we definitely probably see it the most in coaching. You know, we're very particular about our personal training philosophy and our group exercise style. So we'll get people who clearly come with an abundance of talent, but may not be familiar with the way we program, the way we do things, and that right there and then it can be really obvious.
Right.
But we know what we have to do. We've got academies. You know, so if you join as a personal trainer, even if you're a good coach and you've got 3-4 years experience, you're going to go through the Third Space Academy, and hopefully learn some stuff on the way, and maybe teach us some things.
Feedback and No, I love that. So you're big into the training and the teaching the Third Space way. Really cool.
It's important.
So you're a big part of our advisory board. Planning team for PerformX, which is, I'd like to just, huge thank you for your help. I think we're looking at definitely our biggest and most successful show yet, coming into 26, which is 5 weeks away now.
Very exciting. You're busy. You're going to be busy soon, aren't you?
It's manic at the moment. It's absolutely manic. But I think it's been a big thing for us, is obsessing over the people who are shaping the industry and what makes it a good show for them and what's going on in their world. So that's why we've kind of appreciate having you part of the
it's a pleasure.
board. But coming into trends and shifts in the industry and what you're seeing, what are the biggest trends and shifts you've seen in the last sort of 6 months or so, and which have you lent into and which have you debated and deliberately said that's not for us, kind of thing?
Sure. Yeah, I'll try and cover them on the spectrum, if you like, talking about wellness, fitness, recovery, and longevity, because I think that's the spectrum.
That is, yeah.
I think if we start with pure fitness, we continue to see this kind of meteoric rise in. It's not just Reformer Pilates. I would say it's more than that. It's the mind and body products of fitness and wellness. So bar, sound bath, mat Pilates, but definitely Reformer Pilates. That continues to boom. Huge growth there in the UK, Europe and the States. Something we adopted a couple of years ago, and that's now a staple feature of our signature programming, having a Reformer Pilates studio. Many perceive that as a gateway into strength training. I think that's why it has become so popular, which is brilliant. I'm all about, bringing people into training. So that trend continues for sure. I think the hybrid athlete training, which has just been spearheaded by Hyrox over the past 5 years, continues to be enormous, and that does just not have any signs of slowing down at all. As we've seen, and we're joking from the first event I went to, sort of coming out of COVID, with hundreds of people there, down to the sort of 40,000 event at XL. When was it? A few months ago, and one's forthcoming, and we have lent into that. So we opened last year. We opened in Canary Wharf our first bespoke Hyrox training space, with all the finishings from the tracks to the wall ball counters, to all the ergs and everything in between, which has been hugely popular. And actually, what's been similar to Reformer Pilates, and this is actually key, this is strategically key for us and all health clubs, is those particular products have got the power to pull people into off-peak times in clubs. So they're so popular that people will consider coming at the quieter times, which is a very important thing for us and all clubs to look into. And I showed
just to get there, just to be, because it's too popular. The peak times are too popular.
They'll change their diary.
Wow.
To come and do it. They'll think, well, I wouldn't normally come in at 10, but that's the only time I can go and do it. So you know what? I might start a bit later, or I might start earlier and go for my break then.
Wow.
That's the power of an amazing product or an amazing instructor, and you put the two of them together, then you can, because the biggest challenge for us and all operators is trying to get as much usage from the space at certain times.
Efficiency. Yeah.
So the Reformer trend, the Hyrox trend, and so they're going to, we've got plans for more bespoke Hyrox studios, and where we can't do a bespoke one because perhaps the club is slightly smaller, so we need to offer some more products as well as the Hyrox training. You would have seen here a kind of by-use studio. So we've been. Those are probably the two biggest on the group fitness side. Strength training generally just continues to explode. So as we were saying earlier, making sure that our free weight spaces have got everything they need and continue to grow in size and use some clever technology. We talked about the Track My Gym technology to make sure that we're not doing it subjectively, we're doing it via science to make sure that we're designing them in the right way. And that continues to grow. We're just seeing mature generations coming into strength training, female generations and populations coming into strength training, which is brilliant. We're also working at the moment on a brand new strength training group fitness product, which I can't talk about too much, but that's going to be pretty exciting. That'll hopefully get launched this year. So we're working on that. So those are probably the big group exercise fitness trends, that we're looking at. Recovery on the gym floor. So when I say that, I mean recovery on floor. That is all of your percussive therapy, your Normatec leg sleeves, hip sleeves, arm sleeves, foam roller machines. We've lent into that. We're now zoning parts of our club and dedicating specific space to that, which you've seen. So that is a trend which continues to grow and become big. I would then say, if we talk about wellness, the term wellness or passive wellness, I think a lot about meditation, breath work, sauna, steam, plunge or cold therapy, cold baths. Those are all things which at Third Space we consider them to be part of your membership, but they require space and cost. So I think this year will be the year for Third Space where we lean more into wet spas. We've got them opening in all of our new clubs. It's been very successful in Wimbledon. The sauna trend is real, the science is real. Lots of opinions on cold. Some like to do it for fun. Some aren't too sure about the science, but it's a thing. I don't think it's going anywhere.
That's true.
And so for sure we're leaning into that. And then I think for us a very new one, which we've just launched. It's quite new to Third Space is recovery or active recovery. So we've just launched our recovery membership. So we've launched that in Canary Wharf. The recovery area in Whiteley is going to be opening in a couple of weeks. And then we're currently pre-selling in our new Third Space Chelsea, which opens in May. That's going to have a active recovery section as well. Wow. And so we've spent a lot of time looking at the mix of what products we offer there, because these are additional paid services now, either in a subscription via recovery membership or pay as you go. And I think we're still on the discovery journey with what products we're offering. So we're trying different things in different clubs.
Yeah.
Definitely the staple seems to be red light therapy, either in bed or panels. Cryotherapy, traditional cryotherapy via cryochamber, is a very quick and efficient way of getting your cold therapy in. As much as I love to go and do sauna and cold bath, it takes time. You've got to go there, get changed, versus you can step into a cryochamber for 3 minutes and get it done quickly. And for your sort of time poor Londoners or time poor people generally, that's proving to be very popular.
Making it daily rather than once a week to the sauna. Yeah.
And of course, the purists and the scientists will say, well, that's not worth it.
Right.
So definitely those two, and then we're looking at some really cool stuff. So I was saying we've been working with a partner called Self. So this is what we call an AI robot massage. So this is basically a massage bed which is powered by a massage arm. Linked to a percussive therapy gun, so the AI will scan you, and then once you've set up, you can just lie on it, and it will hit all the points you want to hit. That's one of the products we're looking at, and we've got a few other different things that we're looking at. So we've spent a bit of time going over that. I'd say it was still it's more now in launch than discovery, as it's gone into a few clubs. Probably the one that we're looking at a lot is longevity, and what that means, because of course a lot of what I would say are the really important elements of longevity can be done in the club. You're talking about strength training, training for VO2 max, grip strength, all of those things can be done in the clubs. We've had a nutrition arm to Third Space Business for a while, so we offer that support to our members either through events or classes, but we are looking at how we grow that and how we link that to blood analysis, being a sort of core part of longevity. And then you've got, I guess, what I refer to as longevity medicine. And the conversation around that is, what do you have the right to play in, as a health and fitness operator? Because longevity medicine, you're then starting to get into, blood testing and GLP-1s and peptides and hormone replacement. And that comes with a whole host of things you have to think really carefully about. Do you do it yourself? Do you partner with someone? And everything in between. So we're having, coming back to that best in class thing, if we do anything like that, we want to do it well,
Really well,
and
yeah.
we want to be credible. And we're in the process of actually engaging with our members and doing quite a lot of market research on what we think members want. And as always, as leaders of the industry as we are, whether we're in clubs or events, we tend to be at the forefront and at the niche,
Yeah.
and so this is, some of our members are a way away from this.
Yeah, right.
So we've got
It's not mainstream at all.
It's not mainstream yet. It is for some of our members, but a small amount of them. But it's becoming a thing.
Yeah,
there are longevity studios opening, there are recovery studios opening, and I think there is an opportunity for the operators to do that and make it part of their offering. But they have to do it well, and they have to deliver value. So that we're looking at,
Right.
I'd say we're looking at that long and hard,
Nice.
and having a think about how we want to play. And interesting, I mean, we've been laughing, haven't we? We're both injured. You
Yes.
you your knee, me my shoulder, and naturally these things start to become of more interest when you are put in a position of
Compromise.
And this, hormone replacement therapy, peptides, all of those things that there's a lot of buzz about start to become more intriguing.
Yeah. How do I get back to my prime, kind of thing?
I think people of different generations, maybe mature generations, men, women, athletes, recreational athletes, are going to become more interested in this, and they are choosing to spend their income on some of these things, maybe more than some of the things that they were spending them on 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Those hopefully I've covered some of the sort of traditional fitness trends, and I think some of the newer wellness, recovery, longevity, bloods, trends that we're going to see coming. Some of the community stuff as well. We spoke about this. I think health clubs becoming community hubs. Running's the big one, isn't it? I always look to I look to the States. I look at the kind of LA coffee run club scene, and you just think, wow, and I think those are trends that have started in the UK. Outdoor events, people wanting to become part of communities, linking retail to those events, hangout time, coffee time. I think that's going to become a competitive advantage to operators who can do that well. We've been doing that for a while, but for sure we'll bolster that. And our members tell us that that's what they want. They want to be part of the Whiteley community.
Community, I think, is a big buzzword in our sector, but it's something that is probably thrown about a lot, and actually delivering really genuine community is a skill kind of thing. We've got a really good panel at PerformX on this. We've got the guys from Represent, Pure Sport, Rad, and a guy called Demi, who's built an amazing calisthenics community as well.
Great.
But I think it's interesting to unpack, and some of the penny drop moments from what the pre-conversations I've had with them is like just simple things like, I don't have an ROI, I'm just a community builder. Like, you're in the marketing chat and some people will go, oh, we need to do a community event, but then we need to sell something out there, or but actually, and the Pure Sport team were saying, look, I just run, so I've ran twice a week for every Wednesday and Sunday for 8 years, and if people want to come, they can come with me, but I'll run regardless because I like running. And sometimes they've had 700 people join in to run around London, or they got it in New York, they got so it needs to be authentic, and it needs to be and I think it goes back to what you said earlier, but the people at the heart of the business are the people, you are the business and you are the customer, so you're not going, oh, what is community? Should we do something to do with that? It's actually like, well, what would we do? We're doing High Rocks. We should have a High Rocks community, or we run, so we should have a run community. It's that kind of thing. It bleeds out through the people that are in it, kind of thing. So I think, what are you seeing as the most effective strategies with community building? And has there been anything that surprised you? And I've looked at some. I think you're always on the pulse with, you know. I think you do. Am I right in saying you've done like dating run clubs and things like that in the past?
Yeah. We've it was our singles.
That was it.
Singles run club. Yeah, I mean, you know, kudos, you know, to our marketing team for putting those on. They're always, you know, fully booked and, you know, and really popular. You say which ones would surprise you. That actually surprised me because I did, you know. Sometimes when you term things, you know, beginners or singles, you just think, you know, no one's going to go to that. You know, right. It's just, but that was hugely popular. So that, you know, that's been a success. And I think the authenticness of it is key as well. You know, you mentioned that we've had some just a lot of it builds around group exercise. So we've had natural gangs of, you know, the reformer crew who get together. We had an amazing story at our Richmond club where basically, you know, a bunch of people who found themselves doing a high rocks class together just all became friends and, you know, did some events, and that's kind of morphed into taking it in turns to host each other for dinner. Nice. You know, on the weekends. Yeah. So you hear stuff like that, you think, you know, wow.
That's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah. It's real, you know, community.
It's real authentic. And I think, you know, your comment of not having any kind of forced ROI is just so important. It's interesting actually with nutrition. You know, sometimes when you try and press anything, so say you're trying to sell one-on-one nutrition consultations, and you'll get some interest, but you might not necessarily get as much interest as you would have thought. And what we've actually found is we put on some, I guess, kind of community events for our members. So we'll host it in an event space, we'll call it Nutrition Lab, and that's all at a cost to us, but it's complimentary for our members.
Right.
Full.
Really? Yeah.
Just every time full, you know, and with all of our panels of experts talking, you know, about everything from, you know, protein intake to, you know, fibre and everything in between. And I guess the light bulb moment for me was I started sort of thinking about them as a class. So, you know, if we put this on as to provide a service to keep our members engaged and, you know, helping them to meet each other and get some value, there's nothing expected back.
Yeah, it's just part of the timetable.
It's just part of the timetable. So that's actually, you're spot on with the ROI thing, and that's something now that we've looked at, and we're looking to roll out, you know, our almost like, you know, nutrition classes for our members that they can just come up to and sign up, and then naturally you get people meeting each other and getting on there. And you start to get some of those, you know, community effect building. We did one of our general managers actually was big into what we call new member mixes.
Right.
And we launched this in one of our in our Richmond club. And so every 3 months we'll do a new member mixer, and we'll invite all of our new members to come in. Hugely. Again, I was in the past, and I'm going back a few years, hasn't necessarily, you know, taken off, but it just seems recently this is just something that people want. And so they've been, I think we did one in our Clapham Junction club, we might have had 60, 70 people come for the evening. Wow. So yeah, someone, you know, they always send me the pictures and it was like, wow,
crazy.
Looked like an event.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Jeez. Yeah.
Yeah, great. I'd say they've those are some of the things that we've had some success with and that have surprised me.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think it's patterns, isn't it, where people are now, like you can see people working from here, people don't have offices at all now sometimes, and they don't have a team that you'd hang out with. It's harder to naturally meet people. You sat in your own home or sat on your own in a coffee shop. So this literally becomes people's third space of like, this is where I'm expecting to meet my partner, or and also the change in the cultural shift in alcohol consumption and things like that as well. So people aren't at the pub, they're not meeting people out, they're not, Friday night isn't the pub anymore, it's probably a sauna or things like that, or is it an early morning Saturday run, so you're not even out late Friday, and you know, you're becoming the local place for that. It's
almost like the new pub, isn't it?
Yeah, really is.
Yeah,
really is.
I mean, nightclubs seem to be a thing of the past, don't they? You know, it's bizarre. That's all I did.
Same,
you know?
yeah, that was my background.
That's your background,
10
yeah.
years
You
in
know, and you
nightclubs,
just think, wow, you know, and this is. I think this type of space is the new space that people are going to hang out, because we are social beings.
Yeah.
You know, we might like to think that we're not, but we are.
Yeah,
you know,
100%.
That's how we've survived and evolved, is
Yeah.
through community and supporting each other. So it's unsurprising, really, but it's definitely been a generational shift that way, hasn't it?
I think it's only going to get bigger,
More
because
like
that younger generation don't drink at all a lot of the time. So, you know, it's, as they phase into your membership base, that'll, you know, that'll be what everyone does. Whereas I think probably people 30s and 40s and 50s still, you know, there's still a big chunk that will be drinking or going out a bit. Whereas, you know, as that group come
shift.
through, it'll be all about wellness. And I think there's been a change. I think it's that kind of maybe the Gymshark generation, that younger age where social media was around. You grew up, you were born on social media. Maybe literally, where you know there's a picture of you when you were born, and then you can see everyone's lifestyle. You can see how people are getting in certain shape, and you know there's a whole culture of young people in the gym. You know, whereas I think when I was younger, you were a bit weird. And my dad's generation, it was you were Arnold Schwarzenegger. I remember him thinking,
very polarized.
He thought my protein shake was steroids, you know, and things like that. It was like, what are you doing? Why is my son in the gym? Like, what's that about? So it's definitely become like a whole shift in wellness overall, hasn't it? And like people looking at training,
which is great, right?
It's brilliant. Yeah. Great for our sector.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. And then. We'll touch on partners. So obviously a big part of what we do at PerformX is brand partnerships. We have a lot of the key suppliers and brands in the room showcasing the latest kit and building relationships, deeper relationships with our VIPs, people like yourself, that are the movers and shakers in the space, operating the clubs. You work with quite a number of our guys, including InBody and Indigo. What would you say you look for in a partner? What's important traits for someone to be an established part of the woodwork when it comes to the new clubs?
Yeah, great question. I think first and foremost, if I come back to that best in class pillar, you know, it probably starts there. You know, so if we take InBody, we'll go, who do we think, based on our research, what we've seen, what we've tried, what people are doing, who do we think is providing the best product in that space? And that is ultimately, you know, how we ended up with InBody.
Nice.
You know, that's how they landed on our doorstep. They were renowned for providing a great product, and then you reference check, you know, where they are and what they do. And you get all of that ticked off. I think an important part of it as well is then the people, you know, because who are you going to deal with, you know, every day? If we're going to spend a lot of money with this company, are they, the way I like to look at it is they're not a supplier, you use this word, I want them to be a partner.
Yeah.
And that means we are seeking success together. I don't want it to be a situation where you've sold me something and I'm having to call you because I'm either happy or not happy with it. I want you to be proud of having that product in third space, and delivering value to our members. So that's really important, because that also links to the aftercare, which is critical, because you can have the best product, and if the aftercare is no good because that particular brand has not set up the right service structure or whatever, then it just won't work, because we need to know, you know, something's going to be not out of action for a period of time. So I would say that's probably the, you know, thought process we go to. Of course, price is important, but you know, if you're buying anything that's best in class, it's not going to be cheap.
Yes.
You know? And so you know, you can procure that sensibly. But yeah, we'd look at what's best in class, who are the people and what are the people about, and how can they support us, and do all of those things, you know, lead to a good brand fit. that was probably the InBody example, because the InBody is it's a pillar for our personal training program. You know, that's absolutely it's core for results, and so we need to know that that's going to work well, and also that our trainers are going to like it. We would never procure a product, you know, without our team, you know, giving it the rubber stamp, which they do.
Yeah.
And we've had to do a lot of work with them, you know, to line up the exchange of data that we can get from their kit. That hasn't necessarily been easy, and it's never easy anywhere. But so far, you know, so good. And with a company like Indigo, you mentioned, I think you mentioned them too. Again, fantastic quality product, built and manufactured in the UK, very important. And before we start doing business with those guys, I went there. I want to see it with my own eyes. I want to see the factory. I want to see where they're making it.
Nice.
And what I love about that product is they can bespoke it. And as you've seen from walking around Third Space, there's a lot of bespoke metalwork. There's some wonderful products out there. You know, a lot of them won't bespoke it, and a lot of them come from other countries. And you put those two things together, bespoke and not sourced from the UK, normally can be a headache.
Right. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
but what sits at the heart of it is best in class or best in breed selection of anything we do, and knowing, you know, if I take Indigo, that I can look Rob in the eye and say, Rob, we're going to open 4 sites this year. You know, can you do it?
Can you do it? Yes.
Can you do it?
Yeah,
Are you sure you can do it?
You're going to get an honest answer. Yeah.
You're going to get an honest answer.
That's true. And there's some really exciting new Gym 80 kit up there as well. Can you talk me through some of those pieces?
Yeah. We, as with anything, we're looking for best in breed, best in class all the time. And through our, we've got a brilliant head of education, and we've got some brilliant elite trainers. And we started, you know, they were making noise about Gym 80. And they are, you know, those guys are obsessed with the mechanics of how the equipment works, right down to, you know, how long are the cams, because of, you know, all of the weight of movement, range of movement, length of movement, that stuff, quite rightly so, is very important to them. So that, we started to hear Gym 80 more and more and more. We saw them at a couple of the shows, tried the equipment, felt great.
Yeah.
And we got invited by Chris and the team to go over to, as always, I want to see it, show me the factory, show me how it's made. We went over there, had a look at all of that, got toured round, and thought, you know, all those guys do is pin and plate.
Yeah.
You know, that's all they do. Pin, plate, cables. And we thought, this feels like a really good option for Third Space. Trialled it in a club and have started, you know, rolling it out. And we're in Chris's hands to, you know, look after us, which I'm sure he will do. And so far the reaction has been great from our members. No surprises. The coaches love it. So yeah, those have been that's been one of our newer partnerships, but those are some of our exciting partnerships. Yeah,
that's really cool. A chunk of your audience is the everyday athlete and people that are treating their fitness journey as if they were an athlete, right? They're trying to. What do you guys do to go over and above for those guys? And I can see a lot of different things we've discussed, a lot of points along the way where, you know, because it's your own obsession, you guys are all big into your fitness, so you're applying things across the path. But what would you say you guys do to really, I guess, help those guys get the insight and the progress and enjoy the journey as an everyday athlete kind of thing?
Yeah, I think what you have to do is in your own team, you've got to have experts in those fields. So if I took the functional fitness space, we were probably heavily skewed to having a lot of extremely passionate, you know, CrossFit and High Rocks fans, right, within the organisation. You know, right up to world champion status. You know, in our senior team. And so therefore it was unsurprising that we were able to design the yard and the High Rock studio in a way that satisfied, you know, the elites and the everyday athletes. In other areas, you need to make sure that you've got the right master trainers or experts exploring those spaces for you. You know, I am less of a expert in triathlete.
Yes.
You know, I'm less of an expert in sound bath or reformer Pilates.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah.
But you know, our head of program has got a whole suite of experts who operate in those spaces, and so we need to make sure that in our research and development that we take those people with us wherever we go to research those spaces, and we lean on them, because they will tell us, no, you can't orientate a reformer studio that way. It needs to be the other way.
Yeah.
Like, oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. And that has to be mic controlled. That can't be normal voice controlled. You're like, and everything in between. And so if you try and design those immersive spaces without the right experts and master trainers at the forefront, then you won't satisfy their audience.
Right.
You know, so in my experience, that's the best way, you know, to do it. You could not design a bespoke high rock space without bringing in a couple of, you know, everyday coaches and a couple of, you know, serious elite 15 type people to go, what do we need here, guys?
Yeah, design for the best, and then make it scalable.
And you'll get the right answer. Same with any other space, you know, that you do. You know, my layout for where I think all of the Gym 80 equipment should go will be wildly different to my head of education. You know, he'll laugh at me and go, no, this is what we need. This is what we need to do, and why? Because our members are going to go from here to here to here to there. So that's key.
Yes. Yeah. Again, it comes back to the people and the obsession with deeply understanding what's going on.
And having the. You know, don't be big-headed about it.
Know your strengths, know
your strengths, and be comfortable with going to someone else in the organisation. You know,
that's your thing.
This is your thing.
Yeah.
You know, get it right.
Yeah,
please.
You know much more about this than me. Yeah, I'm happy to say that. Yeah.
And that obviously goes beyond the training space, but is particularly important for the training space.
Yeah. I guess a personal one for you. You talk a lot about the win or learn mindset. What's that? How is that applied to the last big growth period for the business?
Yeah, I don't think so. Win or learn is not necessarily a new term, but where I reference that for me was so Conor McGregor's coach John Kavanagh. His book is called Win or Learn. And it's really about the ethos that they took. He takes his athletes through to reaching the top. And the way I interpret that is, if we're going to do anything, we're going to try and win. You know, we're going to try and do it to the best of our ability. Let's not just try. You know, let's go for it. However, you know, we must accept. That we might not always land there. And so there's really for me no such thing as failure. There's only learnings. Some of it's not often a third space, you know, without sounding big-headed, that we fail at anything. But there are new areas of discovery. If we look at recovery and longevity and some of these things that are evolving at such a rapid pace, AI, that some of those things you just have to have a go at. Otherwise you'll never start. So you have to have a go at it, and you have to do it to the best of your ability. But you have to understand along the way that you might get some things wrong. And the most important thing is not that you've got it wrong, that you understand why it didn't go to plan and what are the learnings that you can take away from it. And we've had plenty of that. And I think sometimes with team members, young or mature, they don't want to fail. Understandably, no one does, and they're scared of failing. And they sometimes you can get this. People can be paralysed by wanting to move forward because they're just too concerned about it might not be right. And, you know, and you got to, you know, we're a big reputable brand, and so we've got to be careful about how we tread. But that's what that mindset is about. You know, it's about if you're going to do something, try and do it. Always try and do it to the best of your ability, and try and win. Because if you don't try and win, you never will.
All in. If you're not all in.
But understand that if you don't, that's okay.
Yeah.
And the most important thing is that you learn. And for me, you know, we were talking. You've been doing some kickboxing. That comes from martial arts. You know,
very humbling.
It's very humbling. Yeah. I call it. You know, anyone you know watching that's you know, my daughter's been doing jiu-jitsu for 2 years. You know, and I decided to start learning that. And you know, wow, talk about talk about humbling. You know, the whole white belt philosophy
mentality.
Of going in and knowing that for 12 weeks you are the class idiot. And you just do not know what's going on. But if you know that, and you know that step by step and over time, you will become great, because all great things started small.
Everyone started rubbish.
Everyone started rubbish. And I think that's the mindset that stops people. People become paralyzed by this fear of looking silly.
That's it.
You know, and so it's like, you know, just don't be. Just accept that you're going to be a white belt for a while, but through perseverance.
That's it. Yeah, I like the phrase, like, you've got to be in the arena, and if you're thinking you look silly by being in the arena, you're just an observer. You're not even in the ring. So you being in the ring, you're better than the you who was outside not starting jiu-jitsu and watching someone else doing it. Oh no, but he looks silly because he don't know what he's doing. But actually, you know, you a year later suddenly you're competent at it, and then. Or you've learned a lot along the way, kind of thing. So it's a big part of that.
It's so translatable to business, you know. And I think, you know, you asked me, how have I used it, or how do I apply it? You have to encourage your team to, you know, not worry about that, and create a culture whereby it's not vulnerability. Maybe it is a bit of vulnerability, but people are. Less bothered by appearing to not know it all. You know, I like to use language sometimes where if we're running a team session, it's like, guys, I don't know. Who wants to lead this? Because I don't know. You know, if I was to get into the events business, I mean, oh my God. You know, but I'm sure if I sat next to you for a year, I might be all right at it, you know, or I might understand the basics of it, you know, after a bit of time. And so applying it in the organisation is about getting your team comfortable with it's okay.
But lose the ego.
Lose the ego, but try and win. Do your best, you know. But if you can't and you fall down,
just act with the knowledge you've got, and ask the right people. Like you said, bringing in the experts, ask the right people. But acting, taking steps forward, testing things. Like you're constantly testing new concepts and ideas on a micro scale. That's not going to sabotage the business, but it's like, that looks interesting. How can we safely try that? But be trying it.
But
not being too safe. Because actually, otherwise you'll never evolve.
Never do anything.
Yeah. Brilliant, mate. And final question, I think, on that topic of learning, why should someone be at PerformX? What's so important about getting in those rooms?
Yeah, look, I think apart from it just being a cool event, it's a great event. What for me, why it's important is what I love about the event actually, and what you and your team do, is you bring really interesting speakers. You know, I think we had a doctor from Remedy Place a couple of years ago, and that was so topical, and so it was, you know, just absolute kind of person of the moment to bring. And then last year you bought Dr. Kristen, was it, from Whoop, and again, you know, fascinating keynote. I think this year's Johnny Wilkinson, isn't it? It's one of them.
Johnny.
So I think, look, in terms of, you know, Third Space is all about inspiring the audience. In terms of inspiring the audience in an innovative way, you're going to get that at PerformX. So that's the first thing. The second thing is for operators like myself, you're going to go there and you're going to be able to interact with a lot of really key manufacturers and suppliers of product. And actually, some of the products that we're putting into the recovery spa, I met them last year at PerformX.
Nice, brilliant.
And so those are conversations and relationships, that have continued from then. I think it's a great day, not just for operators, but for coaches as well. So for fitness professionals and for just people getting into our industry. And I think you've, it's not just suppliers of equipment, you've got retail brands, you've got all kinds of different products there. So I think, for me, I would always say for operators should go, coaches should go, people who are just interested in the fitness and wellness sector should go, because over the course of a couple of days, it'll give them everything they need, I think.
Yeah. Brilliant. That's spot on. I'm glad you said that. I think that's our kind of mission, is to, we know people are kind of busy and in the trenches of their businesses, so our mission is to be those 2 days that you take your head out and you say, what is going on in the sector? We spend a long time, as you know, working on what are the 8 to 10 massive trends and shifts, who is the main speaker that is already doing those things that we can learn from, rather than people talking about it, as who's doing it. And then you can, brilliant. I love to see when you're able to meet those speakers and you can go up and have the direct conversation.
Yeah.
I've seen you guys speak to Kristen after last year and things like that. It's that actual, we brought this person over and now you can actually get the key insight. And they're always very happy to share. Dr. Jonathan from Remedy Place stayed right to the end of the after party, and he was telling people how to set up recovery concepts, and
perfect.
Priceless. It's priceless.
It is. And I think what you're hitting on there is people are going to get value.
Yeah.
And that's what's key, isn't it? As an operator, am I going to get value from the things I'm going to be exposed to? As a wellness enthusiast, am I going to get value from the things that I listen to? As a coach, new coach or senior coach, am I going to progress in my journey as a brilliant coach and be exposed to brands like Represent or March On or Third Space or any of those things?
What's going on at the pulse of the sector? Like what's working fundamentally, because of the Business of Fitness show, what is making money, but also what's going on in the peripheries and what's going on under, like Represent is a big cultural shift in how fitness is now perceived, and that was something we did originally in 2023, and they're back this year, and they've just, that was when 247 I think initially launched then, and now it's mega, like you said, the whole Hyrox outfit, like every single person at Hyrox had it on. So it is understanding and spotting those shifts, which some operators might not even just be aware of, because it's on the ground stuff, isn't it? It's very.
It is. I mean, interesting. Like yourself. For many years I was a CrossFit fan, and I didn't know, even last year, I didn't know too much about Velites.
Right. Yes.
And I just ended up meeting the main guy.
Yeah.
He actually gave me a pair of trainers.
Right. Yeah.
So it was like, within a couple of minutes of talking, he could see that I was obviously a bit of an enthusiast, and passion of that type of training, and gave me a pair of trainers and said, let me know what you think. And I thought, that's so cool.
Yeah.
When was the last time that happened at a show or event?
It's true.
So,
that's true.
I think if if you can keep your guests and whatnot engaging, in that way. Fantastic. Yeah,
and it's being the place where, because everyone that comes has that passion for learning, and you're there soaking up. It lights me up to see you could bring the full squad, and everyone is, it's great. There's a guy that comes down and he's got a gym up in Newcastle, a good friend of mine, and you see like a team huddle, right? You're going to learn, the coaches are going to that stage, I'm going to this stage, and he's, aspiring to be multi-site, so he's on the main stage watching the big shifts and trends that, people like yourself are watching. He's not seeing himself as a single site operator. He's going, right, I need to see this stuff, what's going on globally, what's actually changed, and then, he's got his number 2 is on the gym owner manager stage, because he's going to replace him, and it's great to see that.
That's great to see.
That split up of the team.
I've had some great interactions there, you know. Similar to that, actually, I had some chap come up to me, and I loved the cold approach of it.
Yeah.
It was just kind of, are you John? Yeah, I'm John. I've got one site and I want to open another one. What do you think? You know. It's like that's a really broad question, you know.
Yeah. How long is a piece of string?
I've got 15 minutes, you know. So let's you know, where is it?
Yeah. But it is that. I think someone said to me, and it was even just a change in language we did a few years ago. We called it like we used the word networking heavily, and someone said to me, it feels a lot more networky this year. I've spoke to about 100 people. You know, it feels like a bar vibe. It doesn't feel like a trade show. So you've got music pumping. People can just feel like they can come up and approach you, and it just feels a lot more like flowy and
less corporate-y.
You can speak to one of the speakers and they'll hang around all day, and you don't get that like, oh, someone's booked and they're going to do the talk then go straight home. They're like, oh, actually this is pretty cool. I'm big into the fitness industry and this is amazing. This is a vibe. I should be here. This feels natural to be here. And I think we try and nurture that by adding things like the 247 run club in the mornings and trying to do all sorts of stuff.
That'd
like
be
that
fun.
To make it just to make it what people actually want. You know, like you're actually thinking about what do the fitness industry want and why would they be here rather than it being a transactional thing. It feels like a cultural thing. It's important to us. So
great. Look forward to it.
Look forward to it. Yeah, 25th, 26th February, free tickets this year, completely free. So whole industry open to the whole industry.
Well, you'll see a gang of black gilets there.
Yes.
We'll be there.
No, pleasure. Absolute pleasure. Thanks, John.
Good. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah.